Thanks, Neil. Is this loud enough for everyone, or should I put a microphone on? Can everyone, this is good? Just let me know if I start to fade, and I'll go grab that mic. I'm gonna try it without the mic. So, thanks for the intro, Neil, really appreciate it. I'll just give you guys a little background of my wrestling story and just the things that the sport has taught me. Obviously, looking back, you can learn a lot. So the hopes, just like any coach, any parent, is you use your life experience, you use the wisdom you gain, and you hope to possibly mold someone younger's future, in a positive way from some of the hardships you've overcome along the way, help their experience, help them get motivated, help them do better than you did. So some of the lessons I've learned that maybe I utilized them, maybe I didn't, but looking back, you see the picture a lot more clearly sometimes. So for me, I started wrestling sophomore year of high school. I didn't know what wrestling was until then. I didn't do any sports. So I tried third grade soccer. I grew up in Texas at the time. From first to fifth grade, I was in El Paso, Texas. And so I tried third grade soccer, and it was me, this tall, clunky white kid against 25 blazing fast Hispanic kids. And I just come home every night like, why am I so slow, Mom? Like, I can't keep up with these kids. And she's like, I don't know, it might not be your sport. So then I ditched sports. I just played video games. Tried out for 7th grade basketball, didn't make that, so I was over it. So I was a couch potato, never lifted a weight, never did anything active. So sophomore year, I decided I'm gonna go out for the wrestling team, almost on a dare. I just wanna get in shape. So I'm gonna join a sports team to keep me accountable. I see these guys working out like crazy, so maybe I'll just go, I don't care about the actual sport. I just need organized training regime so I can just get in shape, and so that was my thought. So I went out for wrestling the sophomore year. I was failing classes. We had a no pass, no play policy, so I couldn't compete my sophomore year. Didn't get to compete. I went to every practice. I loved the training aspect. I went from 220 pounds of Jell-O to 160 of skin and bones because I didn't understand how to diet. I just thought, don't eat and you'll get thin. Then I started to build back and started to actually get educated about how you're supposed to eat, proper nutrition. So I landed about 180. And that summer is when I fell in love with the sport. So my coach drugged me around to all these summer tournaments, and I started to really, it went from this is something that's gonna help me lose weight and get in shape to I really, really like what this sport has to offer and who it's making me. So I fell in love with the sport that summer. Junior year, I turned my grades around. I knew that I wanted to do this more than 2 years, so then I got college aspirations. I was just gonna sit at home and be a bum. I was like, all right, I gotta go to college. I wanna keep wrestling. So got all my grades up. So for the next 2 years, I made straight A's. I went and got 4th as a junior, 3rd as a senior. Not very impressive resume if you're talking college wrestling. But my high school coach, as it went, was from Kearney. He went to UNK, and he was a Kearney High grad. And my assistant coach at my high school was the younger brother of UNK's head coach at the time. So through coaching connections, they basically told Coach Bauer, who was my college coach, they said, hey, you might want to look at this kid. Like, he's coming on fast. He hasn't wrestled very long. He hasn't blown up the national scene or anything, but give him a shot. So I went to Kearney on a recruiting trip. I took one recruiting trip. I was super antisocial. I didn't say anything. I came back. They probably thought, like, yeah, this kid's not coming here. And I was like, yeah, I want to wrestle. So I made a decent enough score on my SAT that I got enough of my out-of-state tuition waived. So I was like, I'll just take out a bunch of loans. I'm doing this. All right. So we weren't from a very wealthy family, so I just committed. So I got $600 to go to school. He threw me a little bit of money to pay for my books, and I went to Kearney. And so from the first year when I got to Kearney, I was recruited to be 184 pounds. So I was around 200 pounds. We had a national champ at 197 weight class. So I cut a lot of weight very badly. This is basically my 3rd year wrestling, and I'm in college, and I'm wrestling people that are really good. And so I have no idea how to cut weight. I'm cutting weight terribly. It's miserable. The team's giving me a hard time. I end up starting. I get the spot at 184, and I'm supposed to start. Well, about 2 tournaments into the season, I broke my ankle. And I didn't know it was broken. They took some x-rays. They saw no break. So I keep wrestling. Everything, it's like it just hurts. I changed my lead leg. Everything's going wrong. The coaches are saying, you just don't want to make weight. My friends are saying, you just don't want to make weight. You know, and I'm like, I'm 10 hours from home. I don't know anybody. I'm like, this is miserable. So my experience started very rocky. But luckily enough, it was bugging me enough. I got an MRI. The MRI showed a couple broken bones. And so I ended up medical redshirting. So that basically that cut that year off. I ended up redshirting the rest of that year. And my college coach told me, all right, so hey, you got to be really disciplined this summer. 184 is around the corner. Come back. So the weight cut's not as bad. And I'm like, absolutely, coach. And I went home and I bought every weight gaining supplement you can get. And I gained like 30 pounds. So I came back, I was like 220, 219, and I was like, I don't know what happened, coach. Looks like 84 is out of the question. So I guess I'll just be a light heavyweight. So I made the call to go up to heavyweight. So I was wrestling around 215, 216 in a weight class that had a cap of 285. So I was a little bit undersized, but I was having fun again. And I was making, and at that point I had built relationships with my team around me, and that helped a lot. And we became a brotherhood, and we pushed each other. We had these crazy dreams, right? So it was me and a couple buddies that came in at the same time. We lived together, we did everything together. Used to watch the highlight tapes from years past, and we're like, we're gonna be the first team to win the Nationals. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be the first team to win the Nationals here. And we're a bunch of walk-ons, right? We got a couple $100 each. We're going to be the first team to win the Nationals. That was always our story. We would just sit in the dorm rooms and we would just talk about who's going to, what the situation, it's going to come down to this, and then you're going to have to pin this guy, and then I'm going to have to do this, and it would just be stories and stories of this kind of stuff. And as we started to go, each of us started to see a little more success and a little more success. As we took ownership of our careers, as we took ownership, we allowed our support staff to build us up, but we were no longer doing it for prestige. We were no longer doing it for someone else. We were doing it for each other and for ourselves, and we just wanted to see how good we can become. And so each year we progressed. So that first year, my redshirt of freshman year, I ended up being the first one out of the gate. So my friends weren't starters that year, and I came on and I became an All-American. And so then they were like, all right, like that's awesome, like you did it. So I became one of the people that we were looking up to. I got the AA status. The next year, my other buddy got on the team and his first year on the team as a sophomore. So then he All-American. And then my third buddy was only a 2-year starter. He got on the team as a junior, and then he All-American. And as we were going, we were building up, and we got second as a team our sophomore years. We got second as a team our junior years. We were massive favorites our junior year. We had won every duel. We won national duels. We beat Omaha. We beat Central Oklahoma. We beat all these teams that were really good. And and then the Nationals, the stage was set. It was in Kearney. We were going to win the Nationals. It was going to be the Cinderella epic tale. And we blew it. We had a couple of underperformers. And Central Oklahoma, out of nowhere, they were like the 4th ranked team. They had a couple people who got 4th in their region, end up making the national finals, like crazy circumstances. So they put half their team in the national finals. We couldn't hold up, so they took that. So we were just like, what is going on? We were and in theory we were losing a couple seniors, and we're like, we're going to be a worse team. How are we going to do this? And so our senior year, the whole story was I had started to win a lot of stuff. I won a couple of pretty big Division I tournaments. I won this really prestigious tournament called the Midlands, which is in Northwestern, where pretty much all the D1 guys are there. So I beat the Division I national champ in the finals there. And so a lot of these Division I teams started to recruit me via social media and stuff, reach out to me like, hey, do you want to transfer D1? Do you want to transfer D1? And so I was considering taking an Olympic red shirt because I had placed 4th at the US Open. So I was considering taking an Olympic red shirt that my senior year, and then once my guys left, going to wrestle at a Division I school. Well, that summer, I made the call to just do it, to send it. I wanted to wrestle. I wanted to try to make a World and Olympic teams. I just wanted to be done with school, get the degree, start wrestling international, and try to win, try to do what we set out to do. And so the year started out a little rocky. There was a couple injuries. There was a couple transfer problems. One of our two-time returning national champ had to go to jail for the first semester. It was. I mean, they could make a documentary over our senior year. It was nuts. We had a guy in jail for a whole semester and some change. We had a major component. We had massive injury at the beginning of the season from a 74-pounder. We had a couple guys underperforming, a couple guys that were third at the Nationals the year before, losing to people that, we're like, what is going on? We're falling apart, we're unraveling. And so we kind of band around this idea of like, we don't care about the individual result. And for me, that's what it was. I was no longer fueled by individual wins, because at that point, it was just, I had created a separation between me and the field of Division II. But what was getting me really excited was like, what can we do as a team? What can we do as a team? So all of us we were managing all our extra workouts. We were getting in. We were coaching each other up. We were doing it from the team out, right? We weren't waiting for our coaches to speak into us. We were making up the plan. We were trying to get motivated. It was coming from us, and it became a really powerful message when we started to hold each other accountable. So as we started to go through the season, it started to kind of slowly patch together. You know, this person came back. He's a little bit out of shape, but okay, he's back in the lineup. Okay, this person just had a big win. They've been on the struggle bus. They've had about 4 or 5 ugly losses. They finally got their first premier win of the season. They're kind of getting back into it. Right, the first duel. So we got our 133-pounder back from prison or from jail, whichever one, as silly as that sounds. At about pretty much like 4 days before you had to make a weigh-in and wrestle, or else you couldn't participate in the regionals. So he had to go from jail, where he was doing push-ups in his cell, to make weight. So he lost like 16 pounds, stepped on the scale against the kid that was ranked like 2nd or 3rd in the country, and got his butt kicked. Just got his butt kicked. And then 3 weeks later, he beat that guy at the regionals, and then 2 weeks after that, he won the nationals. Right, so so the story of the nationals went like this. We started out, first round, we got upset in 2 weight classes, major upsets. Like guys that could win the nationals losing to guys unranked. Two guys go down. So we're already, by day one end, we were like this, it's done, it's over. We got to get second. Just everyone do what you got to do, like get as best you can. Like it was like, even the coaches were like, hey, don't think we can win. So the story of the first day was like, let's win the nationals. By the end of it, it was like, we can't win this team title. Let's at this point, well, let's shelf that. Let's just wrestle. And so day 2 comes along, and on the backside, bonus point. We had 4 guys come back for 3rd place, all the way back. We put a couple in the national finals. We had 8 All-Americans out of the 9 qualifiers sent. And it comes down to the situation where we're 3.5 points behind. A win in the national finals is 4 points. So I win my match, we win the team title. And it was in a very dramatic fashion. I win this match. It was a pretty close match. I was pretty reserved. I was just very careful not to make a mistake. Probably not the best not the best tactic, but that's how it went. And so we won the team race by 0.5 point. So 0.5 point won the national. So along the way, looking back, what's crazy is literally if Minnesota Mankato wins any other match, gets 1 more bonus point, they win along the whole tournament. And vice versa, if we miss 1 bonus point, if one guy doesn't score, I mean, there's countless times where you can look back in that tournament and you can say like, okay, so he didn't need to get that takedown. He was up by 7, but he got it with 7 seconds left to go up by 9. That won us the nationals, right? Minnesota Mankato, their heavyweight had his first round opponent pinned in the cradle. He let him off his back to get the tech fall. That won us the nationals, right? I mean, along the way, it was like all these little clips of like holy buckets. So it was pretty epic, but the cool thing was looking back, it was so cool to realize that you always have like these situations. I remember during that season, one of the things that was very frustrating for me was we lost a couple duels because of how patchy our lineup was. And it came down to me having to pin somebody. So it's like, okay, if I pin them, we win. If I don't pin them, we lose the duel. And so I was like 2 for 6 on pinning. It's really difficult to pin people when you just have to pin them and they don't have to get pinned. And so I'm just like, I remember thinking like, why can't it ever just be like, just win? Like, why is it always gotta be pinned? Like, I wasn't that good at pinning. And so lo and behold, it comes down to the national titles. You win and team wins. And so that was a really special memory. Obviously, that's what I remember. I remember the bonds. I remember the family. I remember the things about that year. Not so much the wrestling. I don't remember the cool takedowns. I have no idea where the trophy is. I lost my national championship ring. I don't even know where that stuff is. All right. So the reality is, the medals and the trophies and the accolades, like no one else cares that, I'm a Division II national team champion, right? I mean, that's not something in the wrestling world that's relatively low on the totem pole as far as what else I have done. So everyone wants to talk about this Olympic medal and that world medal and how many world teams and who'd you beat and blah, blah, blah. But one of the coolest memories for me was when our team did the impossible in our eyes, right? And literally we thought 24 hours before, we thought it's over. Like, it can't be done. And so that was really cool. And then along the way, so past that, I went into international wrestling and the resume is the resume, but there's something about this time, high school and then college, that you really don't experience internationally. You really don't. So as cool as it is to be a spectator of the Olympics, it doesn't feel like you really don't feel the team like you do now. The opportunity to be a part of a team in high school and college is very, very special. And it's something that can really, really affect, my best friends, the people that were in my wedding, the people that I talk to every day, they're still my college roommates. Right? I haven't made a better friend since those people. But I've made more friends, but I haven't made a deeper connection than the people that I suffered with, the people that I overcame with, the people in and out, day to day, we struggled together. When we shared that, when we chose to struggle and we shared that struggle and we passed the burden around, it created these bonds like no other bonds in my life. And so even, it's a very, very, it's a very nice story to say, represent your country. That's what's special about the Olympics. You don't feel that. It just doesn't feel, it's like, it's cool. It's like you get a bunch of gear, it says USA on it, you tow it out there, but it's very, international wrestling is way more lonely. It's just you, and then you don't care. And that's how it is. It's all about your performance. It's all about your performance. Like our coaches won't even let us watch the other team, or won't let us watch our teammates. At the Olympics, it's like, you go back to the hotel, you rest. And I'm like, well, I don't want to watch his match. It's like, no, you go. You got to take care of you. Everything is, you got to take care of you. Right? So before it becomes professionalized, these are the times, these are the memories right here. These are the special times. Don't miss that. And so a couple things that I've learned along the way that I just want to leave you with is, first one is, wrestling, you have chosen a very difficult sport. Wrestling is hard. Wrestling is hard. Wrestling is uncomfortable. And it's individual. It's hard and it's individual, but it doesn't have to be lonely and miserable. It doesn't have to be it's hard and individual, but it doesn't have to be miserable and lonely. All right? No one will ever, at no point in my life after winning something special did anyone ever ask me, well, did you do it with help or did you do it on your own? They didn't care. You win. You won or you lost, right? So there's no reason to make it harder than it already is, right? When you allow your team into your life, into your struggles, to share your burdens, to help get you past that next hurdle, I promise you, it's worth it. It's worth it because you don't need to make it any harder. Wrestling sometimes has an us against the world mentality, and it should be us. It should be your team, your unit against the world, not just you, not Lone Ranger. It's too much. It's too heavy. And it doesn't have to be miserable. You can change the perspective of what you think is miserable and what you think is exciting. By the rhetoric, by the philosophy, by what you believe, by how your team, what you celebrate, what you punish, all that can change your perspective, because the reality on perspective is it can change your life. If two people can look at one situation and one can say, I will avoid that at all costs, and the other one can say, I did that and it changed my life. The same situation. It's all about perspective, everything. So yes, is wrestling hard? Absolutely. But do you come out the other side different? Absolutely. And nothing in my life that has been easy anyone ever talks about, including myself. It's the stuff you've overcome. That is the color of life. The colors of your life are the things you've been able to overcome. The struggles, the problems, how you solved them. How are you different? How did it change you? So that's the first one. The second one, humor kills fear and it builds bonds. All right, so for us, our misery was drowned out by making fun of our misery. Another morning run. Right? We complained together. We joked about it. There goes Coach on his rant again, right? It was something, everything that would annoy us, everything that would scare us, you're going to probably lose first round. Right? We made everything that was scary, we made a joke out of it. Everything that was annoying, we made a joke out of it. Everything that you were walking in and you were about to suffer, all the suffering, together we got closer because we could all look at it and go like, yeah, of course, okay, so these are our choices. Our choices are we can quit or we can do it. So we're not going to quit, so that stinks, but we're going to do it. So go fight. And so that was our experience, and we didn't know. But since then, I've learned this about. So there was a group of warriors that are famously studied amongst leadership circles because of how ferocious they were, and that was the Spartans. Have you guys ever heard of them? The Spartans. Okay, so that's a very that is kind of a human experiment of warriors that a lot of leaders study and how they operated. And one of the things that was told about the Spartans was they would walk into battle and they would basically make fun of each other and give each other a hard time in an extremely vulgar way, which I don't advocate that. But they would be extremely vulgar in their jokes, and they would be constantly picking on each other like, you're going to be the first to die. Like, this guy's never going to see his wife again. I'll probably marry his wife, right? Like the most vulgar, super mean jokes. But what would happen was they would walk on the battlefield and they're cracking up, belly laughing. And their opponents would be like, these people are psychos. These people are psychos. We're about to engage in life and death, and these people are laughing, right? The fear. So everything that made them scared, everything, they drowned it out with humor. They drowned it out with humor. Who you are sometimes is who you are all the time. All right? So, Coach touched on it a little bit when he talked about expectations and, simple activities. Simple activities to become a family. Give a kid a ride, right? And I would extend that into the areas of growth, the most important pieces of your life. Discipline, focus, self-control, who you are as a person, right? Relationships. Every time, I believe that every moment of your life, every decision of your life, every second of your life, none of it is wasted. It all fills one cup or another. So in any moment in your life, if you come to a decision, you fill the cup of disciplined or undisciplined. You fill the cup of focused or unfocused. You fill the cup of hard work or lazy. There's no decision that doesn't fill a cup. Some have bigger fills, some have smaller pours, but every single thing. If you walk by a piece of trash, pick it up, put it in a garbage can. That will help you. It will access. And here's the reality is, not everything in your life you will be excited about. But if you meticulously do the things that bore you well, if you do the things that are difficult well, if you do the things that are uncomfortable well, then when it comes time to do the thing that you do care about, in that moment you'll have access to the things you've gained. It's very difficult in the state semifinals to be a disciplined person. It's not a light switch. It's very difficult to wake up that morning and go, I've been a slob, but today I'm a hard worker. That's not a thing. Discipline, focus, those are character traits. Those are who you are, not just choices. No major choice, good or bad, life-ruining, life-making choices, to the outside world it seems like, wow, that was such a cool thing someone did, but that's not it. For that person, it's just, that was their next step. So every moment of your life, you should be focused on your next step. No one does anything great because they chose to do something great. That was just their next step. They did this little decision and this little decision and this little decision and this little decision. They walked and walked and walked and walked until finally they were faced with an extremely massive moment and they just took their next step. And same thing with life ruining. No one chooses to ruin their life. No one chooses to ruin their life. No one's like, I'm a perfect kid and suddenly tomorrow I OD. That's not a thing. Oh, I dabble in a little of this and I dabble in a little of that and I dabble in a little of this. It's small decisions. Small decisions matter. Every decision matters. So let your team share in that and let them help you. No one individual or circumstance can make you great. No individual and no circumstance can take greatness away from you. Greatness is from within. There's a toxic idea in sports, and it's leaking into wrestling, and that's this idea that, well, you need the perfect coaches and the perfect facilities and the perfect technique and the perfect weight room and the perfect philosophy and the perfect, and then you can be the best version of yourself. So, don't listen to anyone until you find all those perfect parameters. That's nuts. Development comes after trust. You will get the best you can be if you trust the people that love you. If you buy in, if you sell out to the people that love you and you learn and you do your best, you will grow exponentially and go exponentially further than if you just find someone that won a bunch of stuff. Tell me what to do. All right? I came from a high school, no tradition, no facilities, urban poor neighborhood. And I'm not saying, oh, just do it like me. Everyone has their own story. But what I'm saying is, do not point fingers out here and become a victim to your surroundings. Never. Become a victim to your circumstances. Greatness, that's why everyone likes this story. Man, he didn't have anything. And suddenly, look where he got. That's a fun story. And it does happen. And there's a lot of them. But I'll tell you, the first thing that person didn't do is feel sorry for themselves and accept their victimhood, right? So there's a group think right now in the world that says, if you dig deep enough into your life, you will find that you are a victim in some way. Don't accept that message. Don't accept that message. Because all that does for you, that does nothing for the person who told you you're a victim. They go home and they live their lives. All that does, the second you accept victimhood, your mindset is fixed. It's no longer your fault. You don't need to change. Someone else needs to change. It's a very dangerous message. Never accept it. Be the best you. Fight to be the best you. And the last one, probably the most important, don't miss out on what wrestling has to offer. The true piece. And here it is. This is why I think everyone should wrestle. I never did any other sport at the level that I've done wrestling, obviously. But I do understand something about wrestling. It's combat, it's suffering, it's individual. Okay? There's not a lot of sports that fit those three things. So the reality is, okay, combat, we can limit that to, okay, MMA, jiu-jitsu, some kind of martial art. But the reality is no other combat sport, every single day, you engage at 100% of that sport. You can't box, you can't knock your partner out every day. You can't. That's unsustainable. You're just gonna go through, you can't, you have to spar. You can't, you can't, boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, very flowy, no intensity, right? Anything that you punch and kick, you cannot do it 100% because I will knock my partner out and then practice is over. So we have to, there's a game. There's a little bit of a game. Jiu-jitsu, very flowy. Wrestling, every single day of your practice, you will wrestle at 100%. You will wrestle live. You will wrestle like it's a tournament, and you will wrestle more minutes than a tournament. Your match is 6 minutes. How many of you have done more than 6 minutes in a practice? Anyone? How about this? How many of you ever done less than 6? I've never done less than 6 minutes in a practice. The amount of intensity mixed with combat, mixed with individuality, creates this crazy, crazy mixture in wrestling. And so what that does is this. Everyone's life is like a cup of water. A cup of water, and it's in a thermos. You can't see what's in it. You just know, you've been told it's water with a bunch of dirt in it. And if you set that cup on this table for long enough, you know what happens to that dirt? It sinks to the bottom. In a bizarrely separate, like it can separate to the point where it's crystal clear water, all the dirt. Like it's not, like if long enough set on a table, the dirt will all sink to the bottom. And so the reality is people will look at this cup, it's a thermos with water in it. And every now and again they'll sip off the top and they'll go, my life is good, no problems. I don't need to change, nothing's wrong. Continue on. Well, there are moments in your life that will take that thermos and they'll shake it. And then when you sip off that thing, what is going on with my life? What is happening with my life? But the problem with those shaking moments are moments that I don't wish upon anyone, right? Hey, I just got deployed to Afghanistan. Hey, sorry to call you, I got the test results back from that scan. Bad news. Hey, Timmy didn't come home last night. I heard there was a car accident, right? The things that shake your life are things that you don't want to happen. The uncontrolled struggle, the uncontrolled suffering in life, it's going to happen to everyone at some degree. They're unavoidable. You don't wish them upon anyone. But the reality is this, wrestling is not that. But what wrestling is a constant state of this. It's a rattling table. When you participate in wrestling, your life is in a constant state of shaking. Still dirty, still dirty, still dirty, and you're siphoning. And so what it does is it paints this very clear picture that you are not at your best. There's still dirt in there. Siphon it, change. Do it better. Do it harder. Do it more disciplined. Do it with more self-control. Become someone better. And so that's why I think everyone should wrestle. Because the opportunity to become someone different every single day of your life, that opportunity, there's not a lot of things in life that are like that with the ramifications of wrestling. Because the ramifications of wrestling, barring some freak injury, you lose a wrestling match, right? Every now and again, you get injured. Probably not life-ending. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's like the chances of you dying in wrestling, very low. The chances of you getting hurt, pretty low, but decent. The chances of you losing a wrestling match, very high. That's the worst. That's the worst of it. But the crazy thing is, it feels like life and death. It feels like it. When I lost in the Olympic semifinals, I couldn't have been more crushed. If someone told me and called me and said that your mother died, I couldn't have been more sad than in that moment. I'm not saying that one is definitely, I would much rather have lost in the Olympic semis than my mom died. That's not what I'm saying. And one lingers longer. But I'm saying in that moment, when I walked off the mat, there was no more emotion of sadness and disappointment I could have had under any other circumstance for that next hour. I was at rock bottom. And so that's what it's crazy. It feels like life and death, and it's so not. So don't miss that, because that's why I think because no matter how many things you win, no matter what you achieve, everyone can leave with that. Everyone can leave wrestling changed and on a trajectory to constant self-assess. You have a feedback loop right now in wrestling that tells you every day, got to get better at that, not there yet, got to get better, not there yet, got to get better, not there yet. Literally every day. Something needs to change every day. You can't do that at a desk job. You can't do that in a lot of the business world. You don't have access to that feedback loop. This is a very, very cool dichotomy where it feels like life and death, but it's not. So you can prepare yourself, because when it hardens you, if you allow it to change you, it will harden you. And when that unchosen suffering, if you choose suffering long enough, you will harden. And when that unchosen suffering comes, it will hurt, but it won't kill you. It will hurt, but it won't kill you. Because you've done it. You've felt something similar so many times. You will want to be depressed, but you will not. You will dig yourself out. You will want to feel sorry for yourself, but you'll dig yourself out. And you will move forward. And that's why I think everyone should wrestle. Because there's nothing else that I've experienced in my life that can show you the things and reveal who you are to yourself like wrestling. And so don't get it twisted. Everyone, I wish you all the best. I hope everyone in here wins state. But the reality of that is probably pretty low. But what you can do is every single person in here can buy into this idea that if you seek the best version of yourself and every day is productive for you, you can change. And that's how teams are built, is when the backup tries to beat the starter every day. They don't just accept their position. Every day is a new chance. And when no one checks out and goes, I'm not going to do this past high school. When everyone is all in every second until you're done, and then you move on to something else. But if you can learn to do that with every piece of your life, when you can sell out to what you're doing in that moment, be present, especially in wrestling, you will start to see how quickly you can improve, how fast, crazy improvements can happen. Because this is a sport that you have access to that. So that's my story. Those are a couple things that I want to leave you with. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully it wasn't too crazy and all over the place. But thank you guys, and God bless.